Okay, everybody, here we are, part 4 of the Kubota output shaft seal replacement. I just wanted to show you something real quick. I got my parts out here. Here is the old bushing, and let's see. So, inner diameter of this guy is about 875 thousandths, 874, 875. And the one on the new one is about 860. So we're looking at about a 15 thousandths difference in inner diameter. Now this is like a rubber lined bushing, so it's not going to require any kind of special pressing to go on the shaft. And I think we were probably leaking more hydraulic fluid through this bushing than we were the seal. That's just my guess because the seal fits around this guy. Now these outer diameters are identical. This did not wear. It's a hardened material, much harder than the rubber ever could possibly or couldn't possibly be abrasive enough to affect the outer diameter. So I'm pretty sure that the seal itself was actually fine, and we were getting hydraulic oil leaking between the shaft and this bushing. So just kind of something neat that I guess I learned, and I think it's good information. So we have all of our new parts, and we're gonna go put them in. So I lost my brass drift. Normally I keep a length of brass that's about a half inch by half inch by about 7 or 8 inches long, and I keep it in my toolbox. I don't know where it is. So the closest thing that I have is a 50 caliber shell, so or casing, and my brass hammer here. And so what we're gonna do to get this guy on is we're going to put him on the shaft and then use this old one on the back side of it, and then I'm going to tap with my brass drift and my brass hammer so as not to mar up the shaft. So let's get to it here. So I apologize if this video ends prematurely. As usual, I'm having GoPro battery not charged issues. The camera itself has been really good lately, but I keep forgetting to charge the battery. So the problems I'm having are of no fault of its own. It is all my doing. Okay, yeah, so that's a good tight fit. So in order to remedy this GoPro not getting charged when it's supposed to be problem, I just bought a couple extras off Amazon. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Yeah, that bushing fits good and tight. I can pretty much guarantee that's where we were getting our leakage from. Now, if you're gonna do it the way that I'm doing it, you're really gonna need to make sure that you have a brass hammer and not a steel one. So I'm still gonna have to come back and dress up the inside of this. But if I was using a steel hammer, this would already be really screwed up. There we go. Yeah, again, being very careful to not allow this shaft to pull out. Okay, so we're just gonna press it right up against, I don't know if you guys can see in there, right up against the bearing. Not hard, just up against the bearing. Also be mindful of cleanliness. This is important. So, okie dokie. Put your seal facing forward. We're not trying to keep hydraulic fluid from coming in this way. So let's see. Oh. Okay, it's mostly on there. Let's see what would be good for this. Try and do this without touching anything. Okay, well, she fits tight. I'd like to get a different tool. Here we go. Pushes right in. Okay, there we go. I think once I get past the lip that the snap ring sits in, it goes in a lot easier. So. Okay, I think we're there. So let's take the trusty Knipex pliers. Okay guys, sorry about the battery dying there. I hope you got enough information as far as reassembling that seal setup. So here's where we're at. Obviously the tractor, the two halves are mated to each other and things are torqued down properly. Hydraulic line's reconnected and floor pan is bolted, and so starting to tackle this nightmare, and this is something I'm really not looking forward to. So if you are just catching this part of the video series, the reason I'm not looking forward to this is well, there's a few reasons. Now let me grab a flashlight. So here's the shaft for your steering, and it needs to mate to this universal joint, and that looks pretty straightforward. It is pretty straightforward. Problem is you got your main suction line here, and there's literally no space for you to get in there with your fingers to put things into position, and yeah, it's just going to be a nightmare. Really not looking forward to it. So then the other one, you have your range selector shaft, and so that has to go up through the dash or the console, and then mate with this universal joint. And what else? This clevis needs to go up back through here and connect to that guy. Just all of it is really, it's difficult to do as one person. This is really, it's actually pretty heavy. It's really awkward, and it's just not going to be fun. I think once I'm done with this, the rest of it's going to be pretty smooth. So I started landing wires. I have all these connected, all of them up underneath here. Everything's connected, and all the linkages and whatnot. So yeah, this is next. So I decided to go ahead and replace my my throwout bearing. So when you put pressure on it, normally you're going to have pressure on that throwout bearing. When you put pressure on it, it felt good, but if I just free spun it, it sounded like a very dry bearing, and it is a sealed bearing. So It shouldn't sound like that. The last thing I wanted was to get this thing back together and have a bad throwout bearing. So I called up my Kubota dealership this morning around 10 a.m. and they said that they had it on the shelf. It was $66.19, so not all that bad. All things considered, I guess I probably could have got it cheaper online, but my goal is to have this thing back together this weekend. So today's Saturday. Their shop closed at 12. I don't have the correct puller or press to remove and replace this throwout bearing. That's the part number if you're interested. So I asked them, I said, hey, can you guys please squeeze me in today? I'd really appreciate it. And they said, you know, bring it on by, we'll see what we can do. So I brought it by, and they had it done within just probably 10 minutes or so. And I said it didn't give them any problems. They didn't have to heat it up or anything to get it off. And so I was expecting to get charged a 1 hour minimum at the winter rate, which I don't know what that rate is, but I'm guessing somewhere around $70 to $80 an hour. Turns out those guys, they're actually really nice. They didn't charge me. So they said, next time you're in town, swing by with a dozen donuts or something like that. So that's that type of treatment that you don't get for the most part from OEMs. So good guys there. Skolton's Equipment in Linden, Kubota, JCB, and a few other good brands there. Yeah, so that was really cool, and now I feel a lot better about having that bearing in there. That would have just bothered me every time I got on the tractor, knowing that I didn't spend a few bucks and replace that. So clutch looks pretty good. I'm not concerned about the clutch, but anyway, so this is gonna, I guess, end this video series on splitting the tractor and the seal replacement. From here on out, it's just a bunch of bolts and bracketry and landing wires and such. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I really do. Thanks a lot. Feel free to leave some comments and ask me questions if this is a project that you plan on tackling. I hope this video series gave you some confidence that you can do it yourself. So yeah, thanks for watching. Take good care, and I'll catch you on the next video.